Hello viewers, welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Preeti, I am from Department of Computer Science, Aryabhat College, University of Delhi. So as you all are aware that presently we are going through the series of introduction to programming using C++ and today's topic here is friend function. So let us begin the lecture formally. So as you all are aware that this is what we have discussed in our previous classes, that within a class you can have two types of entities. One is your member function, another one is data member, and as far as access control of these entities is defined, there can be three types of access specifiers, which are public, private and protected, and we have briefly covered all these public, private and protected. So yes, by this time we are aware that public is something which is accessible to the entire program. That means any function which is even defined outside the class can access the public members, whether it's a data member or it is a member function, while private is there to be accessed only by the members defined inside the class. So in order to establish this concept more firmly, let us look at a very small program about usage of access specifiers. So two standard statements, which is hash include iostream and using namespaces standard, and in this we have defined one class, which is the name of the class here is my class, and we have three members which are actually data members in terms of variables, three integer variables which are I, j and k, and these are defined inside the public section, and as these are defined inside the public section, we can say these are accessible to the entire program. Now when I am trying to say that these are accessible to the entire program, what does it mean by the entire program and how these can be used? Let's see. Now after definition of this class, within the main section I am saying I have taken two objects A and B of my class, and with the dot operator I am able to access your I, j and k directly just by placing the dot operator in between the object and the member which we want to access. So basically what I am trying to establish here is your object is an entity which is considered outside the class. Actually it is outside the class, it's not a member function or it's not a data member of the class. So an object being outside from the class is also able to access I, j, k which are public members of the class, and this is perfectly fine. So here A and B are objects of the class, and A dot I have assigned a value, then A dot j another value, and then A dot k is something an expression which is A dot I into A dot j, and on the next line I have written that means we have used that k which is public member with the object B by just placing in dot operator, that is B dot k, and then we have printed some values, and all these kind of statements are perfectly fine because I, j and k are your public members. If they would have been defined in the private section, which is also the kind of default access specifier, then we were not able to access, we would not have been able to access this A dot I or A dot j or A dot k in this manner in which we have accessed it here. Then in order to access that particular I, j and k or any other variable for that matter which is defined inside the private section, we have to have something defined within the class itself, and then for example let's say a member function. So member function is internal to its class, and that member function is allowed to access I, j and k, and that member function, if defined in public section, can be accessed by using dot operator with the object of the class, not the directly. So yes, if they are in the public section, they can be accessed outside using the outside entities like your objects just by placing the dot operator. If any member is a private member, then this way will not work. Then in that situation, what you need to do is you need to define a member function or a particular variable which is in the public section of the class that will use the members defined inside or declared inside the private subsection of the class, and that the member function which is defined inside the public section can be accessed using an object by dot operator. That is perfectly fine, but yes, directly you cannot use this. So with this kind of platform build, that private is actually available only for your member functions or only for the entities which are defined inside the class. So one question arises, is there any way to access the private members of the class even by maybe by a non-member function? That means we need to have a function which is actually not a member of the class, but it is even then it is allowed to access the private members of the class. So yes, here is the I can say solution, and here is the topic which is we are discussing today is friend function. So friend function is actually something, and as the name indicates, friend function, so we will be covering friend classes in upcoming lectures. So presently we are focusing on the friend functions only. So as far as function is concerned, it's going to be a piece of code which is considered as a non-member function. It is a non-member function, that means it's not a member function of the class, but even then, because it is a friend function, it is having access to the private members of class, and a friend function is having not only to the access to the private members, but also to the protected members of the class for which it is a friend. Now the question arises obviously that how are we going to declare a friend function? So in order to declare a function as friend function, we need to add keyword friend before its prototype. So that means we need to include the prototype within the class. Yes, that's a very important condition, that we need to include the prototype within the class, and that prototype has to be presided by the keyword friend, so that to tell compiler very clearly that this is the signature of the function, that means these are the parameter list, this is the return type, and it is a friend function. That means it's not a member function of that particular class. So how are we going to implement this using a program that we will see. So in my class, let's say I am going through a particular code in which I have declared one class as the name my class, and I have taken two private members which are integer a and b, and there is a public section in which there are two functions. One is a function set underscore ab with parameter list as integer I and integer j, and another function which is the function sum returning an integer. What is being passed as a parameter is the object of that particular class, and in order to make sure that compiler should not get confused that what actually this sum function is it a member function or a non-member function, we are going to add the keyword friend before the prototype of the sum function. So here in this my class structure, I am having two private variables which are a and b, whose access specifier is private, and within the public section I am having two functions. One is sum, which is a friend function to this particular class because this is declared inside this class, and another function which is not a friend function. So if it is not a friend function, that means it will be treated as a normal member function of the class my class. Another one member function here is set underscore AB, and it is taking I and j. Now, after defining this class structure, we need to define the body of the function sum and set underscore AB, in which sum is a friend function and set underscore AB is the member function of this particular class. So, how are we going to do that? So, if you can notice, set underscore AB integer I comma integer j has been defined with the scope resolution operator, and before scope resolution operator, which is nothing but the double colon, there is given the class name my class after the in return type, which is void. Now, see, considering the whole signature here, what actually it has happening. So, set underscore B is a function, or it's a member function which is returning void, and this member function, the scope of this member function is to the class which is my class. So, basically my class, then scope resolution operator, set underscore AB integer I integer j. This is the way to define any member function outside the class, but the prototype has to be declared within the class. So, we have declared the prototype in the class, as you can see here, void set underscore B integer I comma integer j, and here I have taken set underscore B I j presided by the scope resolution operator. So, A is equals to I and B is equals to j. That means, whatever value of I j will be passed, the I value of I will be stored to the variable A, value of j will be stored to variable B. And please notice, this A and B are nothing but the private members of the class my class. Now, coming to the function of sum, function definition of the function sum. Now, what you can notice in between, the difference between these two definitions is, because sum is actually a friend of my class, it can directly access A and B, but please notice that we have not used any scope resolution operator before the signature of sum, because scope resolution operator we use to show the membership, in the sense here in the function set underscore AB. So, set underscore AB is a member function of my class. So, that is why we have written my class scope resolution operator set underscore AB. So, here for the next definition, which is of sum, here sum is not a member function, it is not a member function of my class. So, we are not writing it using the scope resolution operator. So, int sum my class x, that is what the I can say prototype or signature of sum function, and because sum is a friend of my class, it being the friend function of my class, it is perfectly allowed for the function sum to access not only public but even the private members of my class, which are nothing but A and B. So, it is returning x dot A plus x dot B, where x is the name of the object which is being passed in the parameter list of sum. So, whatever the value of an object is, take value of A belonging to that object, take value of B belonging to that particular object as well, and then sum them and return. So, this is what is the definition of the sum function, which is a friend function of this particular class. But again I am repeating that this definition will go without scope resolution operator, and whenever we want to access this friend function or any other member function by within the main function. So, what are we going to do within the main function? We have created one object of our class, which is my class, and the name of the object is n, and with n we have called one private public member of the my class, of the class my class, which is set underscore AB, and we have given parameters 3 and 4. So, 3 will be assigned to A and 4 will be assigned to B as per the definition of set underscore AB. Now, A and B have got their own values for this particular object, which is named as n. And now, while accessing the function sum, we need to pass an object as per our definition. So, the object which we are passing here is nothing but the only object which we have created, and that is the object n. So, now what it will do internally? So, sum is going to access n dot A and n dot B. So, n dot A is 3 and n dot B is 4. So, it is going to display 3 plus 4, which is 7. So, that's what is going to be the answer of this particular program, and obviously the last statement here is written 0. So, what is the take home message from this particular whole kind of program and explanation of your friend function? So, basically a non-member function which can access even the private members of the class inside which it is declared. So, that is what friend function is. Now, one very obvious question which comes up in the mind is, why do we need a friend function? I mean, on one side we are saying that this is in the private section, nobody apart from your member functions of the class can use it, and on the other hand we are introducing a special function which is the friend function, and we are saying no, it is allowed by the friend function to use your private members of the class. So, basically there are certain situations in which your friend function can be very useful. So, that type of situations is one is overloading of operators, which we will be covering in our upcoming lectures. So, one is overloading certain type of operators, we require to use the friend function. Then second usage of friend function is for creation of some types of input output functions easier, your friend function will be required. This also we will be covering in some upcoming lectures. And the third reason is we can have 2 or more classes that may contain members that are interrelated relative to other parts of the program. So, for example, I have a class X and 2 sections in that particular class A and B, and I have another class, let us say class Y, and 2 sections here also C and D. So, let us say C section of class Y needs to access the B section of class X. So, basically 2 or more classes may contain members that are interrelated relative to other parts of the program. So, here the only idea through which the functions available in the C section of class Y will be able to access the data members of class X present in the section B is friend function. So, yes, friend function is very useful in operator overloading, in creation of some types of input output function, and thirdly for interrelated implementation of 2 or more classes. Now, coming to the very specific characteristics of friend function. So, we have seen that friend function is nothing but a function which is not in the scope of class to which it has been declared as friend. So, that means you cannot use it with a scope resolution operator, it is not a member function to that particular class. It cannot be called using the object as it is not in the scope of the class. So, for sum we cannot say n dot sum. It has to be sum all alone. You will not be able to bind it with any particular object, and as we are not binding it with any particular object using the dot operator, it can be invoked just like a normal function without using any object name and without using any dot operator. Then a very important thing, that if you have if you can recall the function sum, in which we have passed on the passed on in the parameter one object of my class. Why we did so? Because a friend function cannot access the member names directly and has to use an object name and dot membership operator with that particular member name. So, that means what I am trying to say is A and B are actually your, we can say, private data members, but sum, despite of being the friend of that my class, will not be allowed to use those members directly, but it has to use an object name, as we have did in the previous program, that that object name was n and the dot membership operator with the member name. So, n dot a, n dot b can be used within the definition of friend function, but directly a and b we will not be able to use, because that is not allowed. Then one very important speciality of your friend function is it cannot be declared either in the private or the public part. Can be declared either in the private or in the public part. That means there is no restriction for the declaration of prototype of a friend function, that whether this prototype should go in the private section or in the public section. No such constraint. It can be declared either in the private or in the public section. So, in order to previously we have seen some a brief detail about the friend function, and then we have kind of seen one small program. Then with a solid foundation built about the friend function, let us consider one more program, which is implementing a friend function, and see let us see how it is using. Now, here one very important thing which I am going to cover is, for example, if you can kind of ignore the above statement, which is class B, for some time. Now, I am directly coming to class A, and then I will be explaining the relevance of that particular statement, which is class B. Now, within class A, what is happening? There is a private member which is X, and there is a set data function which is setting the value of this X by providing it the value I, which will be passed from outside the function. As set data is public, that is perfectly fine, that set data is going to use X, that is fine. Now, here in the next statement we have written a min function, which is actually using the objects of two classes. One is class A, inside which it is being declared, and another one is class B. But please remember, my compiler is not available of any such class which is named as B till this point. So, we have to use a forward declaration, in the sense, if I am going to write a class A and I am going to write class B object within that in case of a friend function. So, initially we need to tell compiler that there is a class B, and yes, we will be defining this class B as a complete structure in the upcoming steps. So, I have written class B and then class A, and within the definition of class A we are using B as well. Now, till this point B was not declared if there would not have been any forward declaration. So, forward declaration here is very important. You can think it other way around. If there is class B, then class A has to be present in the forward declaration. If we are writing the definition for class A, then class B has to be there inside the forward declaration, because your friend function whose signature is given inside the class A is using the object of class A as well as of class B. So, now in the next thing we have defined class B, and within this class B there is an we can say a private member which is Y, and that Y data of Y is being set by the function set data, and it is kind of we can say it is initializing the value of Y by value of I, which will be supplied from outside the program. Now, again here we have also declared that friend function. Now, that friend function is actually using objects from two classes. So, that means we need to declare that friend function within those two classes, that means within both these two classes. So, here also I have written friend void min A comma B. Now, what is left? We are left with two things. One is the definition of your minimum function, and another one is usage of this minimum function within the main. So, first let us try to understand that how your this min function is using these values, or how your min function is being implemented. Now, min is a friend to A, also min is a friend to B as well. So, we have not used any scope resolution operator as explained earlier. I have used void min. Small a is the object of class A, small b is the object of class B, and there should be a comma in between. Please consider this typo, my apologies for this, there should be a comma in between. So, now using the object of class A, I am accessing the private member which is X. Using the object of class B, I am accessing the private member which is Y. So, A dot X less than equals to B dot Y. That means what I am trying to do is I am actually trying to see which member of these two X and Y are minimum. So, here these X and Y belongs to the private section of two different classes, and private section of two different classes will be accessed by only one entity, and that is a function which is friend to both of these classes, and here it is min function. So, A dot X less than equals to B dot Y, and we will be printing the result if A dot X is less, or we will be printing the value of B dot Y if B dot Y is less. So, it is taking the minimum of 2, but more than the code, we are actually interested into the concept of a function which is friend to more than one class, and using the concept of forward declaration we will be able to use that. So, I have taken within the main function two objects of the class A and B, data is being set, and these are A dot set data and B dot set data, which are actually member functions belonging to class A and class B, and then we have used min A comma B just like a very normal function. So, in this way you can use your friend function which is a friend to two classes, and here is a list of references which is being used, which are being used in completion of this or compilation of this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Thank you for a patient hearing.